Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Emma Cunnington and I'm a woodwind tutor who specialises in clarinet, saxophone and flute. Today's video is going to be on what you need in order to start your saxophone journey, all the basics. So the first thing that you're going to need is the saxophone itself. You are going to need to have a model that's going to be reliable and get you going. The top model which I'd recommend is the Yaz 280 or 275, which is a slightly earlier version, and this is by Yamaha. And this Yamaha 280 or 275 is the student instrument, the student top model. And this is reflected in the price quite significantly. And it is potentially a good investment for an instrument that's going to get you past many of the grades. However, again, there is a price attached to that. So if you're just thinking about dabbling in the saxophone, perhaps maybe not invest in something like a Yaz 275 or 280 until you know you're going to stick with the instrument. Another model that you could go for is the Trevor James, the Horn Mark 1 or Mark 2. Now these instruments have quite good rivals to the Yamaha. You're getting a lot of kind of saxophone for your money. However, again, it's still an investment. We're still talking quite a lot of money, not as much as the Yamaha. And these saxophones make a good sound. Again, they're reliable. They're a good contender in our kind of runnings of saxophone brands and models. Now, you could go down the route of getting a knockoff model, something which is not an official brand. You could go for that. The thing to watch out for with those is just to make sure that you read some reviews and see if you can hear it being played before you purchase it. Sometimes corners are cut with the lacquer on the outside of the saxophone, the pads, the tone holes as well, so the little things that you can see underneath the pads, the little bits such as just there. Sometimes they're a bit sharp and will cut into the pads. You've got to bear that in mind, that with an instrument that's going to cost less, it may have some corners that have been cut. So there if you're buying new. If you're buying second hand, if you're wanting an instrument that is pre-owned, which is also a good option, you need to watch out for a couple of things. In the saxophone itself, you need to ask for as many photos as you can. You need to make sure that there are no dints in the saxophone itself, such as on the bottom or on the actual body of the saxophone, or on the neck or the crook of the saxophone, the bit that goes in the top. Now, the reason for that is because it can change the pitch of the saxophone and the tone of the saxophone if there is any dents, which we don't want. Another thing to look out for is the pads. So the orange things that you can see just below my nose there, they're the pads. You need to make sure that you don't see any kind of white or mould on them and that they're looking fairly kind of vibrant in colour. If the pads are not kind of sealing, so if they're not sticking to the tone holes appropriately, then your saxophone's not going to make a sound. You're not going to be able to get a note out, or it's going to be very hard to play. So we need to make sure that those are looking kind of fresh and that they're all there. Some people might not be as well versed in saxophones if you're buying from maybe someone on eBay or Pre-Loved or a website like that, and they might not know that something's missing. So ensure that you get as many photos as you can of the instrument or all these kind of keys. Make sure that each bit has a bit of orange or whatever colour the pads are underneath each one of them. Alternatively, you could go through a woodwind dealer. There are often local woodwind repair shops and woodwind dealers, people who will, take an instrument, do it up a little bit and sell it on. Go and research for those in the area. Join a Facebook group for music, music swap and selling. Those kind of things, you will get pointed in the right direction. So those are my recommendations with instruments. Again, if you're just looking for something just to keep you going, something to have a go at, one model which you could have a look at if you're looking for something that's maybe not the knockoff brand is maybe something by John Packer. They make some quite reputable saxophones for not as expensive kind of prices. Again, not going to get as much tone, not as much kind of saxophone for what you're paying, but they could be an option if you're wanting something that's still new but not as expensive as kind of a combination. So all this information, these are just my recommendations. Another thing to do your research, look on a various range of websites such as maybe sax.co.uk, or look on the guides on Just Flutes, etc. See what they have to say. Make your opinions on that. Look for videos such as the ones which Dorks have made and sax.co.uk. They test every single instrument and show it on a video. Listen to what it sounds like. See whether you like the sound of it. That's also a big thing there. So that's all about the saxophones, which models to maybe look out for, and little hints and tips. Next section of the video is going to be on mouthpieces. Okay, so this section of the video is on mouthpieces. So mouthpieces, you can't play the instrument without this. So the mouthpiece, usually you'll get one with your saxophone when you get it out of the box. You'll get what we call a stock mouthpiece. It's one that's been made in the factory, which your instrument has come from. Usually quite generic, bog standard. They will often do you for a good few grades, a good few years. However, if you're buying second hand, you may feel a bit uncomfortable potentially using a mouthpiece someone else has used. There may be teeth marks on the top of it, something that's maybe a little bit horrible to kind of play with at first. So you might want to get a new one. Now, a range of mouthpieces which many music teachers, including myself, would recommend are the Yamaha 4Cs for saxophones. Now, they also do 6Cs and other variations of this, and right here I've got a soprano 6C mouthpiece. They are affordable plastic mouthpieces which are free blowing and easy to play. So Yamaha 4C, I would definitely look into getting one of those. They're usually around about, at the time of filming at least, 35 to 40 pounds. In comparison to other mouthpieces such as your Van Doren ones, which can start at £95. It is a good investment to make if you haven't got a mouthpiece but just want something to get a sound out. Now you'll notice on the top of the mouthpiece I have got a rubber thing here. This is a mouthpiece protector. I would definitely recommend getting one of these to stick on a mouthpiece so that your teeth don't wear away at the top of it. Now these are in different thicknesses. This one here is a 0.8mm one. You could get it, I think it goes all the way up to, I think it's 1.2, or they might have increased it by now, and they go even like thinner as well, down to 0.4, at least from what I've seen. And something to invest in. They're not particularly expensive, but they'll keep your mouthpiece going so that you don't have to buy another one because you've created a groove in the top of it. So definitely invest in that. So that's your mouthpieces kind of in a nutshell. Something to consider for later, way later down the line, is when you're getting to grade kind of 5, 6, 7 standard, more likely grade 5, 6 or 7, you may want to think about changing your mouthpiece. So when I got this saxophone here, it came with kind of a generic mouthpiece, but I invested in A20 because I like the sound of it. Now, at the time of filming, we obviously have different regulations due to COVID-19, whereas normally you might be able to go into a shop and test a load of mouthpieces. That may not be able to happen in the same way as usual. So what I'd recommend for mouthpieces is, again, look at some of the videos from Dorks, sax.co.uk, see whether you like the sound of them and see whether it's something you'd be interested in. Again, if there's somewhere that will allow you to go and try out the mouthpieces, I definitely would do. And if you're going to do that, make sure you go with a ligature you like. We'll get to ligatures in a moment. But one of these little things, and don't remove it for the entirety of the testing so that you've got a consistent test, if you will, for your mouthpiece. And also, don't change your reed. Make sure it's the same reed because it'll work slightly different across the range. Again, this is something for way later down the line, just a bit of a hint in advance if you would like. The next section of the video is going to be on ligatures, the bits I just held up then. Okay, this part of the video is going to be on ligatures. So I mentioned ligatures to do with mouthpieces. The ligature is the thing which holds the reed onto the mouthpiece. So our ligature here that I've got, this golden one, is the one that came with the saxophone. Very inexpensive, just hold the reed onto the mouthpiece, job done. That'll often do a lot of people. Now, if you're buying second hand, again, you may need to replace this. And these metal ligatures are usually quite inexpensive, £5 to £10. You can get them from most online retailers, or maybe your local music shop if you're lucky. They might be able to order it in for you. So grab one of those if you're just starting out, if you haven't got one included with your saxophone. If you're buying new though, you will be getting a ligature with it on most occasions. I've not heard of an occurrence where you've not got a mouthpiece or a ligature come alongside it. So ligatures, I've got a range here that I can show you for different types. So as you progress throughout your saxophone playing, you will need to alter different things. One of the things you can alter is the ligature, the thing that holds the reed onto the mouthpiece, as mentioned. Now, metal one, bog standard, will do you for the first kind of few grades. Now, when you get into 5 or 6, kind of grade-wise, you might want to change it up a little bit. So, for example, I've got a range of mouthpieces. I've got this Flex BG ligature, which is quite a nice one, nice little step up. I think it was only about £25 to £30 when I bought it. Time of filming, of course, it may have gone up a little bit, may have gone down. We'll have to see. For one of my other saxophones, I've got this nice Rovner light ligature. It's got a hole in the middle of it, which is quite nice to allow for kind of pitch bending and a bit of a flexibility of sound. You've still got that nice kind of support of the reed through these top bits, which this ligature does not give you, because you've kind of got them conjoined together by these pins. It's not as stable potentially as this, where it's kind of glued onto or tightened onto the mouthpiece to allow that reed to really quite sing out. If I just show you on the mouthpiece itself, so the reed will go down there, it'll be secured in there and tightened with this screw here. It's quite a nice range of ligatures by Rovner, the light and dark series. And I've also got a metal ligature, which is something that I've experimented with recently by looking into videos, as I mentioned previously. Looked at videos, seen which one I like the sound of. I've found a BG ligature in rose gold, which is metal. Using it both on my alto saxophone and my clarinet. I really quite like the sound. It makes it sound very bright, very warm sounding. And the thing I like about this ligature is that it doesn't stifle the sound. So in situations with some of the cheaper ligatures, such as this one, if you tighten it too much, it's not going to allow that reed to vibrate, and that reed's the thing that's giving you that sound. This one, however, if I just stick it on the saxophone mouthpiece, it only connects with the mouthpiece where it's needed. So if you've got to imagine for a second there's a reed in there, so imagine there's a reed where that hole is. We've kind of got a situation where it'd just be connecting with the reed, a little bit on the side where that little dot is, a little bit on that side where you can probably just about see the little dot is, and then these rubber pins on the top. So it's almost hovering around the mouthpiece, which allows that reed to vibrate the amount that it can do. And the metal itself brings that kind of bright, warm quality. They do this one in a variety of different metals. I believe it's gold, silver, and I think obviously the rose gold one I've got here, there's one more, I think it's a different kind of gold off the top of my head. But these ones can be quite nice. Now, ligatures do range in price. Your Rovner ones that, such as the light and the darks, are going to be a little bit of an investment. You think £30 to £40. These ones here, definitely an investment, kind of looking towards your £80 to £90. These ones are a little bit less expensive, your BG kind of flex ligatures. As I mentioned, about £20 to £30. And these ones, your bog standard ones, your £5 to £10 will do you for quite a while. So that's your ligatures in a nutshell there. The next bit of the video is going to be on reeds and how the reed system all works. So reeds, this is the thing that vibrates to make the sound that goes down your saxophone. So reeds, got many different brands. We've got Rico Royale, Van Doren, we've also got D'Addario, many others that you can look at. Now the reed, when you're first starting out, I would recommend potentially with the Van Dorens, this normally comes in a little blue packet, looks a bit like a sweet packet. I would recommend a 1.5 in that if you're brand new to saxophone playing. If you've played an instrument before, maybe like a clarinet, maybe consider a 2, just so that it's not going to be too resistant when you start playing on your saxophone. If you like looking at, amongst different brands of reeds, the Rico Royale ones, which I just mentioned, they're also quite a good reed in general. I'd get a 2 in that reed because they're a little bit weaker than your Van Dorens, to maybe potentially a 2.5 if you've played clarinet before that. But a 2 for a Rico would be a good kind of strength to start on. So the reed is made out of this kind of wooden cane. You can see here, this is an alto saxophone. I've also got a reed protector on it, which helps to the reed to kind of keep fresh, keep the nice sound going. They are, you know, a range of sizes. For alto saxophone, they're quite big. If you are a clarinet player, they're a little bit smaller and this, a little bit thinner. Really important this. If you are getting a reed, you'll often get them in a little plastic case. I would definitely recommend keeping these plastic cases to put them in. You can get little devices which hold your reeds all together, but that's something you may want to consider further down the line and talk about with your saxophone tutor. See whether it's something that they think that would be suitable for you. So that is your reeds in a nutshell. Make sure you get a strength that's suited to you, maybe the ones that I suggested. Talk with your saxophone tutor and see what's going to be the best fit for you. With the reeds, they are a bit of an extra expense, which some people don't realise is kind of added onto the cost of the instrument. Your reeds, I would personally recommend changing them once you've played them for a substantial amount of time. Personally, I try to change them out every 3 to 4 months. I'll rotate about 10 of them at once, just for one, for hygiene reasons, and two, the sound gets quite tinny after you've kind of worn out the reed itself by playing it. So reeds can be quite costly depending where you get them from, and also on the type of instrument you're looking at. Alto saxophone reeds, you're looking for about kind of £3 to £4 per reed depending on the brand. With other instruments like clarinet, slightly cheaper. Often if you buy them in a box of 10 from an online retailer or a local music shop, you will get a slight discount just because you're buying them in bulk. But you can often get 3 packs of reeds for, I think it's about £7 or £8, depending where you get them from and if there's any offers on, of course. They can be a good little kind of intro to give you just a couple to get you going, and equally in that 3 pack you might get 3 different brands, you might get the same 3 strengths. It's all down to you whether you want to experiment with your reeds, if you want to go with something that's nice and consistent across the board. So that's your reeds. So the last bit of this video is going to be on any cleaning accessories that you may need when you're starting out with your saxophone playing, as well as your neck strap as well. So let's start with the cleaning bits. The cleaning bits, you often won't get very much when you buy a new saxophone or a second-hand saxophone, so it's often worth looking to see if there's something you can invest in. The main things you're going to need are a pull-through for your saxophone to make sure all the spit and condensation that forms in your saxophone is cleaned out. So something that looks a little bit like this once it unravels. A little bit like this, just to go down the saxophone so that you can clean it out. You may even get a second one included in a cleaning pack to go through your neck of your saxophone. So there are your main things that you need there. You can also invest in what we call a pad saver, which is a big fluffy rod that goes down the main body of the saxophone. I'll show you on mine here. Now this kind of keeps the environment in your saxophone moisture free to kind of keep your pads nice and in a moistureless environment, to keep them nice and fresh, ready to go, and so that you're keeping them in a good condition so that they'll last for longer. So these can be a little bit more expensive. You can get them from your local music shops, or they can often order them in, or you can just buy them online. This one here I think cost around about £20 at the time of this video, and the cleaning kit I got down there came from a big online retailer for about £10, and it came with these gloves as well. Don't necessarily need these gloves for anything, but it's extra bonus, I guess. And it also came with a little kind of cleaning brush if you want to clean out your mouthpiece with a little bit of water, just in case it gets a bit dirty. It also came with a little screw, or a screwdriver even, just in case any screws are looking a little bit like they're coming out on your saxophone. However, I would, if you're a beginner and you're not sure what's kind of going on with your saxophone, I would avoid messing with any of the screws unless you can see something's falling out in an emergency. I'd let your teacher have a go at that, just in case you accidentally unscrew something to do with the main body of the saxophone and it all falls apart on you, because that's slightly harder for your saxophone teacher to fix unless they 100% know what they're doing. So that is your cleaning bits kind of sorted there. Now the last bit we need to think about is the neck strap, and this is the thing that goes around your neck, obviously. If you're getting a saxophone that's new or secondhand, you might often get one of these thrown in. So this is a saxophone strap which doesn't have any padding, so it can be a little bit harder on the neck, can be a bit painful sometimes after a long practice. And it comes with a hook at the bottom which hooks onto the back of your saxophone so that it can kind of be held on your neck. Now, I don't like these very much because if you just hold it at the wrong angle or if you just accidentally push your saxophone, it will fall off. You need something that's got a hook on it or some kind of hinge, such as this one. Now, this one, it's got padding on it as well. It's one that I bought from another online retailer, a big online retailer, for about £5 or £6. But you can get even better versions of this from your local music shops where the padding is like neoprene or memory foam, just to help that pressure on your neck. So this little hook will click onto there, and no matter what you do, it will not come off. So, which is ideal, just in case. You know, just in case something happens. You don't want to be having to get dints removed from your saxophone because you've dropped it on the floor at the bottom. It is not a good thing. It can be quite a costly process. So definitely look into getting a neck strap with a hook on it. On the topic of hooks and stuff like that, you can actually get neck straps which are more kind of on your body. If you've ever had any neck pain in the past, so it kind of goes on, clips in, and then has a little hook to hook onto your saxophone. Those ones can be quite good. Again, a little bit more expensive because you're paying for that extra material and a different kind of layout for the neck strap. So that is your cleaning and your neck straps covered. Thank you for watching this video on starting your saxophone journey. So what you're going to need, whether that's the saxophone itself, which models to have a look at, the accessories such as your ligatures, your mouthpieces and your reeds, or the other little bits you may need to kind of get your neck strap, your cleaning products, etc. So if you've got any additional queries, please feel free to post them in the comment section or find me via my contact form at www.emma-music.co.uk. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you've got. I'd really appreciate it if you found this video helpful, just to like this video, and if you can, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So, happy practicing, and I'll see you later.